This thing that I learned about, and this thing called love that I talk about, it was founded in the process, in the journey, in the military. Number one attitude or characteristic of love is sacrifice. Because when it comes to love, you need to be able to demonstrate it. Those seven attitudes will overcome any situation so that you can reach your outcome, reach your purpose. First thing, and this is the whole thing, is that until we're able to really love ourselves, we can't love anybody else. Love is the same key for professional success as it is in your personal life.
Welcome to the Leadership and Love podcast. We will cover leadership, mindset, personal development, and sales and marketing. You will experience thought-provoking conversations with both nationally and internationally recognized leaders. Our goal is to inspire you and deliver actionable items that you can implement that are going to help you accelerate your growth. Get ready to discover the magic and the power when you lead with love. So welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Leadership and Love. I'm here with a fellow veteran, Juan, and so we actually had a previous conversation. I'm very, very excited for today's episode, but he's got some just amazing wisdom, and we had a brief conversation about, the things we were going to talk about, and like I told him kind of kiddingly, we're twin brothers from different mothers. So Juan, if you please do me a favor, introduce yourself, let everybody know who you are, and again, thanks for your service in the military. He was in the Air Force, and so everybody does their time at some point, or most of us. So go ahead, Juan, tell us who you are and what's going on in your world.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. My name's Juan Lee. I'm an author, speaker, and a teacher of the power of love, the thought mindset of love. I actually wrote a book called Love Made Simple: A Guide to Inner Peace, Contentment, and Success. And it was the foundation for a nonprofit that I started called Clear Journey, where we help people that are seeking answers to life's challenges with the mindset to be able to reach all of their goals and um, um, desired goals in all areas of life. We have mainly four principles that we actually support, and that is finances, relationships, education, health and wellness, and overall self improvement. We like to use the mindset to be able to navigate all of those areas to be very successful in them. So pleasure to be here with you, another veteran. So as usual, I appreciate your service also. We all have something that we would have not done any other way. If we had to do it again, we would have done it.
Right, I agree with that. So I love that you've written a book, especially because it's about love, right? But this is all about leadership and love. And so I want to jump into mindset. And actually, I want to pause this for just a second. And I'd like to say something that just hit me. I've crossed paths with a fair amount of veterans, and I'm sure you have too. And I know there's too many veterans that thought that the best thing that they ever did was behind them, and it was their military service, right? And I would just like to point out to our listeners and those of you that watch that Juan's a living example of the amazing things and sacrifice that he made for his country by serving in the military was not the greatest or best thing he did. He's done all these other things since then. And so if you're a veteran listening to this, I really want you to hear that. You did some great things. We're grateful for your service. You risked your life. You put yourself in danger. You did all those things. But that certainly does not mean that that was the best thing that you ever did with your life. And Juan's a living example of a man that started a nonprofit. He's written a book about love, and he's teaching that and sharing it with other people to make their lives better. And I can tell you that anything you're doing around love is greater than anything we were taught in the military, because that was all about destruction and death, which is the opposite of what love is. So, and I'm sorry, but that just struck my heart, and so I wanted to share that with our audience, Juan.
I appreciate that, but I want to lay something down over with that, lay that something down with that, because as much as we know what the mission of the military is, the purpose of the military is. This thing that I learned about, and this thing called love that I talk about, it was founded in the process, in the journey, in the military. It was the love that I learned in the military, in the process of the journey of being able to fulfill that mission that we all had in common.
So let's talk about that for a minute, because I can tell you that when the unit, a helicopter squadron I was in, when we were activated for Desert Storm, to a man, everybody went. But it wasn't because we were in a big hurry to go to fight a war. We loved each other. And we had a commitment to each other. So I'd like you to talk about that kind of love, because I think when men like you and I talk about love, it's often miscued, and it goes to this place of romance, sex, those kinds of things. So I'd like you to talk about, because I found that love, it's interesting you say that it warms my heart and brings tears to my eyes, because I found that same love in the Marines, right? Well, I would die for those guys. And it wasn't about that mission. It was about that we were bonded together. And so talk about that kind of love, if you would, please.
Well, see, this is the love that I refer to it in everything that I talk about, because it's in that environment, it's in that culture that I learned the power of love. Because the number one attitude or characteristic of love is sacrifice. And everyone who put the uniform on signed up to sacrifice. Whether they knew it or not when they signed up, they signed up to sacrifice. Not only, not being home at Christmas and at birthdays, but the ultimate sacrifice to give their life not only for their fellow man, their comrade, but for that mission, or that objective, that purpose that was greater than any one of us singularly, and that was for the love of our country. And it was that love that caused us to get in that helicopter, to get in that plane, to head to that desert, to know not what the end result or the outcome would be, because of that love. That not just a few of us had that in common, but every one of us had that same outcome, that desire, that purpose, and that was that we were doing this for the love of our country. And it was that when we began to wear what demonstrated what we said. And that's what, when we took the oath, we basically said that we would make the ultimate sacrifice for the love of our country. And that was the premise that I took through that experience. I was in the 9 years, I was in the same war with you, Desert Storm. And it was something that I witnessed as I saw men and women coming from here and far to be there to support that which we had as a country said that we were going to fulfill. And I tell you, it was amazing. I that that war, if we want to call 100 days of war, was something that no one could have planned. No one could have put, man, the way in which they thought that thing was going to end and the way that it ended was not the same.
I agree. And I can tell you that I think this is a great example of how leaders, and I believe everybody's a leader, regardless of your role in your family, in an organization, in a nonprofit, in a company, we're all leaders. I think that I love your point that you're making, because leadership, whether it was the military, the political leaders at the time, at some point you have to be able to lead with love, because you don't know the outcome, and you have to be able to adjust to whatever that outcome is going to be. When you help people, so let's kind of transition from there to mindset, which is really not a transition at all, because it was what that culture, you're absolutely right, in that culture, that's what that culture bred, was that love for each other. And again, And it's interesting because I was telling somebody, I'll share this real quick. I crossed paths with a fellow Marine who was in Vietnam in the early 60s. And one of the things that was so interesting in the Marine Corps, when you went to boot camp, the first thing they told you is nobody here is white, yellow, brown, black. You're all green, and when they shoot you, you're going to bleed red, right? And they said the only two colors you need to know are green and red. But I'd like you to talk about mindset and how you help people understand, because a part of this is something in the belief of a higher power, right? The trust that it's going to be okay, or that whatever happens is it's going to be the way it was supposed to be. Talk about mindset and love in that relationship to each other.
Well, let's start off by saying that the whole thing of why I wrote my book was to take away some of the myths about what love is. And when you were talking about it's this emotion and this feeling, the whole idea was to transfer or to translate that's abstractness into something that is actual, and something that is actually can be seen. And it was, so where do we implement? How do we implement? How do we put love into action so that we can see it in action? And it took me to the various things where we talk about how do we recognize love and be able to really begin to see the difference between love and that which is not love for real. It's just something that's demonstrated, it's being presented, but it's really not. Because when it comes to love, you need to be able to demonstrate it. And so what we talk about is being able to talk about the attitudes of love. How do you demonstrate? And you demonstrate it based on, first of all, how do you position your mind in a way in which towards a situation or circumstance. And that situation or circumstances is going to be able to, it's going to, how you're going to transfer through it is the mindset that you have about it. And what we have is 7 attitudes. And we talked about one, first of all, was sacrifice. When you look at and then you align that attitude with the end result, and that is the purpose. When you line your attitude up with the purpose, what you have is something that's in the middle, and something that's trying to prevent you from reaching your outcome, your goal, your purpose. So that mindset then is that attitude that you need to be able to transcend that particular situation to ensure that you reach your purpose. That's that's the mindset that we're talking about. And so we talk about 7. We talk about the sacrifice, the mindset of sacrifice. Then we talk about discipline. We talk about humility. We talk about courage. We talk about caring. We talk about tenacity and responsibility.
Oh, that's just so sweet.
Those 7 attitudes will overcome any situation so that you can reach your outcome, reach your purpose. But as long as you align yourself with the right attitude of that situation, where here's the point, your motivation has to be selfless, has
So
to be selfless.
so I'm going to interrupt for just a second. So again, for our listeners, Juan's come out of the gate dropping golden nuggets and tons of wisdom. And one of the things I want you all is to catch a couple of things that he just said. And you have to choose these tendencies built around love, mindset. But what he said at the beginning of what he was talking about here is that love is an action. Yes, it's an emotion. Yes, it's a feeling, but you can put love into action so it becomes something that's visible, that can be seen in the world. So, and I love, he said it, I'm going to use a different word for it, but what he was saying is lip service isn't love. You can talk trash from now until the end of time. Until you show up and do it, nothing's going to happen, right? And I love that first one, Juan, about sacrifice. And so what I'd like you to talk about in these 7 tenets, how do you help people turn that from a word into a way of living, a way of leading?
Well, I mean, as it pertains to, like I said, we talked about those 4 areas, those specific 4 areas of life that we talk about. And we talk about relationships, we talk about finances, health and wellness, and we talk about overall well-being or overall self-improvement. When we talk about, let's say, finances, what does it take from your perspective to overcome any challenges that has to do with your finances? Finances is something that is always going to be there. You're going to have to know how to manage them. That's not an option. It's not something that you're going to have to do once and it's all over. It's something that you're going to have to manage. So what does that take? It takes discipline. It takes discipline to know that you have to learn to budget and learn to put those set goals, and then be responsible for your choices as you are establishing those goals, and maintain them with discipline. That's something that we learned. That's something that there's no one in the service that has anything to do in the service that realized that discipline is the foundation of being able to accomplish anything out there.
So he's on fire. And so what I want you to understand is he's talking about discipline, but he's talking about personal responsibility. Personal responsibility is not only one of my core values, but it's a core value in every one of my companies. And what I'd like to understand is that, and we've talked about this before, anything that's not working in your life, when you're looking in the mirror at the person brushing their teeth, that's the only person that can fix it. That's the only person responsible is you. I'd like to talk about love in terms of yourself. So when you fall off the wagon with your self-discipline, like eating dessert or spending money on something you knew you shouldn't spend money on, whatever that may, you yell at somebody, you're mean, whatever that might look like. What's your advice to our listeners to be able to forgive, have mercy and grace on themselves, and love themselves and move on to go fight another battle another day?
Well, the first thing, and this is the whole thing, is that until we're able to really love ourselves, we can't love anybody else.
Wait. Stop the presses. Juan, say that again. And I want everybody listening, if this is the only thing you go away with today, this is the gold mine, my friends. Say that again, please, Juan.
You have to learn to love yourself before you can love anybody else. And that is, and let me be very, very clear when I say that, because it is essential. It is non-negotiable and not an option to be able to know yourself and love somebody else. You cannot, you're not going to be, it's unsustainable to try to attempt to love someone else when you don't know or have not loved yourself. And we try it over and over again and wonder why we fail.
And so now, again, he's laying it down, and this is the hard truth. And so pay attention. And what he just said, the hardest person in the whole world to ever to lead is going to be yourself. The hardest person to lead is yourself. And until you can learn to love yourself, you're not going to be able to lead yourself with the grace, kindness, mercy, forgiveness that he's talking about. And if I can't give that to myself, there's certainly no way I can give it to my team, my organization, my nonprofit, the people I'm showing up every day to serve. So what's something that you share with people on how they can learn to love themselves?
Here it is. The fact is that one of the best things to do is to love yourself, is to learn about yourself.
Ooh,
Learn
ooh, ooh,
about
that's
yourself.
sweet. Say that one
Okay?
again, Juan. You're
No,
on
no.
fire, brother.
Learn about yourself. Now, what that takes is that you're going to need some real tenacity to do this, because you're going to have to dig into finding out some things about yourself that either that you didn't know, or that you didn't want to know. Okay? And there is when you really begin to learn about yourself enough to know where it says that I can whatever is behind me, that I have something I can come from whatever that situation is to make a difference, because it's in knowing who I am, it will determine what I have to offer.
Say that again, please.
Determining who I am will determine what I have to offer. And here it is, it's where I fit in the puzzle of life. My piece is a one specific space in this life puzzle that only I can fit. I'm an original. No one else can be in my space, and the puzzle is complete.
So I want, again, what he's talking, he's just laying it down, and I completely agree 100%. And one of the things I love for people to understand is, in the history of forever, there's never been you, there's never going to be another you, and you've been blessed with gifts, talents, skills, experiences, stories, wisdom that nobody else on the planet has. And when you can love and come to your point, sacrifice and be of service, those gifts bloom like a flower.
They set the picture of this puzzle that everybody's a part of. And without you becoming your originality, being your original self, is a hole in that picture.
And you're absolutely right. And one of the things that I've come to understand is when everybody's in their purpose, in the right spot in the puzzle, there's no war, there's no famine, there's no anger, there's no child abuse, there's no destroying the environment, right? Because we're all doing what we're supposed to be doing in harmony with each other.
We have that in common. The puzzle is what we have in common. I
Right.
can't, my picture is dependent upon yours.
Right. And mine on yours and on everybody else, right?
No matter where you are in the puzzle, you finish the puzzle. You are the completion of that puzzle. It's important, it's imperative that we become all that we can be. We can become all of that by doing that self-examination, finding out who we are so that we can fill that spot that only we can fill.
And now I'd like to share with our listeners, again, he's just such profound wisdom. And that is that you have these gifts and skills. And so when you do the self-examination, I want you to understand you're not your past. You're not the stories you've been telling yourself all these years or what somebody else has been telling you all these years. You have it within you to change anything and everything in your life. And what's powerful, and I'd like you to talk about this, Juan, because the only way I can change you, and I can't change you at all, but the only thing I can do is to change me. The only thing I have control over is the change of me. But changing me changes everything and everybody around me.
Absolutely. It is how we make change in the world is with us.
Say that
The
again.
change. We are the change in the world that the world is looking for. But it's in us. We have to make the change in us so that it's perspective. That's what these attitudes are all doing. It's about how we position ourselves to any particular situation so that we can reach that selfless goal or purpose on the other side of that objective or that situation. And that means that I have to now adjust my perspective so that I can accomplish that purpose.
Okay,
That's on me.
So what he just said, everybody, and again, I don't mean to get so excited, but he's on this thing. What did he say? I have to adjust my mindset, my perspective. I have to adjust to get to the goal that I'm after. If you're a leader listening to this, look in the mirror. Are you adjusting or are you yelling, disciplining, gossiping, ridiculing, putting down all the negative things on the people around you or on your team? Or are you taking that long, hard self-examination of yourself and realizing I'm responsible, I have to change this thing? Man, I love this, Juan. It's just the richest stuff that any leader can hear. And again, whether you're leading a classroom, whether you're leading a nonprofit, it all depends on us. I also would like to ice your cake a little bit, and I want to share this with our audience. People think that you've got to be Mother Teresa or Gandhi or Martin Luther King Jr. to change the world. That's not the truth, and it's certainly not the case. You could change the world today by just smiling at somebody, by giving somebody a hug, by saying something nice or uplifting to somebody, by giving somebody a ride that's walking on the side of the road, by buying the cup of coffee for the person behind you at Starbucks. There's so many little things that you could do that starts to tip this thing, right, in a positive spin.
Look, I agree with you 100%, but here's the one little caveat that I say. Those things that you just said, those are monumental things that you do. You're amazing how love will transform someone's life when they see you doing something extraordinary. What is extraordinary? You doing something that they themselves don't see possible. That's what's super ordinary is. Because when you pay for the person's coffee behind you, they don't know you from a hill of beans.
No pun intended.
You have, no pun intended, but you have impacted them for that day and for therefore on because they had no reason to expect what you did, but that's how love works. Love goes beyond because love is selfless, not selfish. And I think many times we misunderstand it because they look at it as what's in it for me. No, love is about what do I have for someone else. And you have to give. And give is what you have. You can't give what you don't have. And what they say, it's better to give than to receive. People have no idea how profound that is when you come to realize that if you don't have, you can't give. The
Yeah.
only way that you can give is that you have.
So,
And I would rather give than need someone to give to me.
and so he's on fire. And for those of you that aren't watching, I was pumping both my fists. He's on fire. So first off, one of the things that I want you to understand is that life's a beautiful thing. And it's a funny thing because the more you give, the more you receive. It's like a boomerang, right? You give love, I guarantee love's coming back at you. You give peace, kindness, whatever it is, it's coming back at you. And that's negative too, right? If you're mean, cruel, unkind, that's coming right back at you too. Life's just a mirror or a boomerang, whatever perspective works for you. The other thing that he was talking about is that when you become selfless, it actually is kind of selfish because I can't give Juan love without loving me. We're in the same pool. We're swimming in the same pool. And it's one of the things I tell people about hate, right? We're all swimming in the same pool. And whether you're hating broccoli or Brussels sprouts or Trump or Biden or whoever it is, you're peeing in the pool. Hate's peeing in the pool. Stop peeing in our pool. And as leaders, we get to set that example so that other people realize, oh, I can live my life, especially, and I'd like you to talk about this. How do you recommend for people? Because it's easy to be love, joy when things are going good. How do you hold that discipline, that sacrifice when the proverbial stuff hits the fan? What would your advice be to our listeners for that, Juan?
Well, I tell you, this is probably some of the most difficult time because it's easy, like you said, when the sun's shining, it's easy to flow along with the flow and the water and everything going downhill. It's when the sun stops shining, the clouds come up, and the current is going, you're going against the current, is when you need to have a real something in your pocket to understand. And that's where it's so important that you have something, be a part of something bigger than yourself. You need to be a part of something bigger than yourself. You need to be a part of something that can hold you together when things that you feel that you can't do for yourself. That's where we being connected to one another allow us to be able to hold each other up. We cannot do this thing by ourselves. And to think that we are on an island is to think that we're something that we're not. We are not a robot. We cannot do this by ourselves.
Amen, amen, amen. for all of you listening, every one of you is a leader, and what he just said is another gold mine, not a nugget. It's the whole darn gold mine. You can't accomplish anything. None of us have ever accomplished anything by ourselves. Never, ever. I don't care who you are. People live with that illusion and they don't. People drink themselves to death because they're afraid to ask for help, because they haven't built a community or a network, right? That they can go to these people and say, hey, this is what I do. So if you're listening to this as a leader, are you continually feeding or building into your network, into communities, into your nonprofits, your philanthropic endeavors? If you're putting into that, then you have all these resources. And one of the things I love, Juan, and you and I both know this, right? You have your own podcast, you've built a nonprofit. You didn't do any of that by yourself, right? You had parents, you had your buddies in the military, you've had all these teachers, these mentors, the books, the people that wrote the books. There's been all these people that have helped us, supported us, loved us in some way, shape, or form, and we've done nothing by ourselves. And the sooner that we realize, one, we need help, and two, that it's okay, and this is where love comes in, especially with the male ego, right? It's okay to ask another man for help. I just got a call from a guy yesterday and said, hey, Louie, I can usually handle stuff on my own, but man, I'm in a jam and I don't know what to do. And I spent about an hour on the phone with him. But he was brave enough to ask that question. And so I'd like to talk about that, about what do you share with people to be brave enough to get over that ego and say, hey, I stick their hand up and say, I need help.
It's the attitude of humility. It's the attitude of humility. It's one of the 7 that we talk about, because you have to realize and understand that we need one another. When times are rough, you can't do it we are here to serve one another. Whether this is what we learned in the military. You're not going to do this by yourself.
No.
The mission is too big for you to think that you're a Superman and you're going to be able to manage it. You're going to be able to handle this. It ain't going to happen. It's
Right.
when you realize that you only have a part to play. You got a part to play. Look, if you're on the tanker that's bringing the fuel to the jets, you just important as the pilot that's flying the jet. Okay? That jet didn't take off with no fuel in it.
And so, man, I love you. I love you. This is so powerful. I want everybody to understand. He's absolutely right. You're only a link in the chain, and that chain's only going to be as strong as your link. The only thing you're responsible for is your link, which is why everything Juan's talking about is so important. You got to have self-examination. You want to work on being your best you. You want to love you. If you want to lead with love, you have to learn to love you and work on yourself. Juan, man, I'm telling you, this is unbelievably precious stuff.
Well, it's the stuff that we learned in the uniform, being a part of something bigger than ourselves. And I tell you, when you understand it, and this is my crusade, is to understand that what military men and women have is what the world needs, if we understand what it takes to make that journey, to put that journey into place. It's to put those attitudes in place, not the outcome. See, the outcome is about politics. Let's be clear. The outcome, the mission is about politics. It's about, it's geopolitics all over the world. Okay?
Right.
But how do you accomplish that is the journey. And we have been the tools that our nations have used to accomplish their geopolitical agendas. Okay, fine. But what do we gain from this it emulates the life cycle of humanity. It is the life cycle, and that is love.
You're absolutely right, Juan. And I can tell you that, and now that we're not in that environment called the military, and under the constraints of somebody else's geopolitical ideals or plans, we now have the ability to do what you've done and build a nonprofit or build organizations, families, companies, churches, whatever it may be, that operate from this place of understanding we can go change the world, and we're going to do it together, and we're going to do it when we love each other. This is just so rich.
That was the premise of understanding that we have, when we service women and women come out of the military, we have what our society needs. And that is the attitudes of love for one another and for something greater than we ourselves. We are part of a community and we have what our communities need. And that's all we can do is we bring that to the table and we make a difference.
So he's absolutely right. We bring that to the table and we make a difference. Man, you're hitting this out of the park. You're just hitting home run after home run, Juan. And one of the things I want you to understand as a leader, that's your responsibility to build people, to connect. Juan and I are so connected because we went through this experience where we realized we were only a small piece of something much bigger, and that we loved the people and supported the people that we were working with in the accomplishment of that mission. And one of the things that you're going to get this, right? You and I could sit and talk for hours and hours about darn near everything and anything. But there's this common bond because we know what it's like to be on a loving team like that. And I just want everybody to catch this because he's laying down so much wisdom in such a brief period of time. And this one is an episode you're going to want to go back, take notes, and listen to over and over because he's given us all so much wisdom. And part of that is that Juan and I had relationships in the military that it's hard to find in the civilian world, right? Because they don't have, but our responsibility as these leaders who came out of the military is to help people in the civilian world learn that they can build and develop these relationships with the 7 tenets you're talking about, the 7 tenets of love. And again, I want to stress to everybody listening, his 7 tenets, and I'm going to ask you to repeat them in a second here, Juan, but his 7 tenets have nothing to do with sex and romance.
None.
Right. So
All it does is enhance it once you're in the right relationship. Again, that's another story.
right. But you're absolutely right. It enhances every relationship, right? When you're living the 7 tenets in your book, we're talking about every relationship's going to get better. And when you find that special relationship, or if you're in that special relationship now, that's only going to get richer and deeper and more profound and intimate in time of being this person.
It leads the way. This love leads the way to what we call commitment. And in the military, you really have to understand what commitment is, because as you and as Marines, you make decisions at a moment's notice, and it's like you don't have a chance to think about going back. That's the decision, and you're committed to that decision. It's not as though we got an option like, I don't think I want to do that right now. No, you commit to that decision. You're going to put everything you have into that so that you be able to get to the other side of whatever that commitment was. That's what's required in our personal lives, in our professional lives. That same degree of commitment, meaning that there aren't any options. There's no commitment. Don't have alternatives. There's no alternatives to commitment.
So what he just said, there are no alternatives to commitment. That's kind of that, and it may sound crazy to some of you, but that's the do or die mentality. How bad do you want to change the world? How bad do you want to be loved? Quitting, not an option. Taking another path like drugs, alcohol, stupid stuff, not an option. You've got to commit to whatever your mission is and go for it like your life depends on it. Because again, to his example of the puzzle piece, your life, our life, the life of the planet, the life of mankind, society, whatever you want to call it, it depends on all us finding that our piece in the puzzle so that we can all live in harmony and peace without killing each other.
Again, the bigger picture that I talk about in is to understand what love is. Love brings purpose to all of our lives. One of the things that I talk about first of all, let me just say that love gives us purpose. Purpose is to protect and preserve humanity. That's what love is meant to do. It protects and preserves humanity, and it has done it from generation to generation. Each generation is no more than a bridge from the past to the present. And it's a temporary experience that those that are experiencing it get the opportunity to invest into humanity. It's an investment. And it's that tool of love that we use to invest in it.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I want to share something with you that I don't tell very many people, and that is every morning I pray that for me it's God. I don't care, but for me it's God. Every morning I pray for God to send me some person, just one person to help, just one person. And sure enough, every day at least one person shows up. Sometimes four or five. What I want you to do for me, if you would please, could you repeat the seven tenets?
Okay. Well, the first characteristic or the attitude that we talk about is sacrifice. Then we talk about courage. Then we talk about caring. Then we talk about humility. Then we talk about responsibility. We talk about discipline. And then we talk about tenacity. Those are the seven attitudes that will allow you to position yourself in any situation so that you can have the outcome that you desire to reach your end goal.
So, what I'd like our listeners to do is, and we're going to put those seven tenets in the meeting notes along with Juan's contact information. But if you're listening to this, I'd like you to think about today, how can you take action on just one of the seven tenets? One of those seven tenets: discipline, sacrifice. Pick the one that makes your heart go pitter patter today, and go take action. Go put that into practice, because I guarantee what he's been sharing, and he's been coming from his heart the entire conversation. It will change the game for you, and it will change your ability to accomplish and commit to what you really want to get done in this world. Juan, I have a couple questions I always like to end with. The first one is, what is one book that you would recommend? And I can tell you, actually, I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that away from you. I want you, because I know you're a humble man. I want you to tell us the title of your book and where our listeners can get your book with the seven tenets and how to be love.
Well, the book is called Love Made Simple: The Guide to Inner Peace, Contentment, and Success. The book is on Audible. You can get it on Audible. You can get it as a digital on Kindle, or you can get it as a hardback from Amazon. You can reach it all. Now, here's the kicker: you can get it all of them on my website. You go to clearjourney.org, and you have three spots that you can get either of those three on, and get it right there. It'll take you directly to all of those locations right at my website. But it also, if you go to my website, you'll be able to see a lot more of what we're doing and who I am, and more about who I am on my website. It's just clearjourney.org is where you can find out so much about the nonprofit. And again, we're in it together. We're looking for those that are wanting to be a part of us, to help us, to support us in this journey, because I can't and we can't do it alone. We need the support of those that have a desire for things to be better, not only for themselves, but for those that are around them and for the generations to come. So we solicit all types of volunteers and also donations there for you to help us continue this journey of being able to support those that are having, recognizing challenges in their lives.
So that's just beautiful. So again, we're going to put all his contact information in the meeting notes, but it's clearjourney.org, and you can go track him down for his book and a bunch of other resources. And if you're feeling like you want to do something today and donate to a great cause, that's also an option for you as well. Juan, before we go, I'd like to ask you one of my other favorite questions. Is there something that you'd like to share with our listeners that I didn't ask you about?
I'm going to clarify something that we talked about and around, but I have a clarifying moment that I like for your audience to know, is that love is the same key for professional success as it is in your personal life.
Ooh, say that again, please.
The exact same things that you need to be successful in life, your personal life, are the same to love. And it's love. Those attitudes that I'm talking about, implementing them into your personal life, are the exact same things that you do to implement them in your professional life, and will bring you the exact same success. Here's the thing: we can identify successful businesses. Why? Because they're all basically doing the exact same thing. They have a product, learn how to deliver it to the consumer that have need of it. You and I, as a personal individual, have a product. We need to learn how to deliver it to someone who has need of it. That's our personal journey. Every last one of our personal journey is no different than the personal success pattern for any business. That model never changes.
That's tremendous wisdom. And one of the things I share with people that I'd like to give with to you as well is I believe our businesses, our nonprofits, are our spiritual practice. Right?
Demonstration.
Right, because we're showing up to serve somebody that has a need, and we have the skills, the gifts, the talents to deliver that product to help with their pain, their need. And the same thing with our personal lives.
It doesn't matter. And that's why I said, if you, whatever your original, whatever your uniqueness is, nobody can do it. Could resemble something that somebody else does, but nobody can do it like you.
And man, this is so. I want to add one more piece to that, and you're absolutely right in this uniqueness, because I want everybody to hear this. You have stories. Your story, somebody needs to hear. Your story can heal somebody, help somebody, serve somebody, but not if you don't ever tell it. And so I love you, brother. Thanks for sharing some of your story. Thanks for sharing just such profound wisdom. This has just truly been a joy. You lit my day up, and I mean that from the bottom. You lit my day up, Juan. This was just transformational.
Well, I appreciate it. I enjoyed being here with you. I tell you, from one vet to another, we can always connect. So it's never too many or too often that we can do this. I can do this forever, for whenever you want. And just to let some of your audience know that I have a podcast. It's called It's Life, and another one, it's called The Philosophy of Love. It's on our YouTube channel, which is our Clear Journey YouTube channel. There's a
Okay.
new episode comes out every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. And if by any chance, I am also starting a new Clubhouse channel, which is called the Love Mindset Lounge on Clubhouse. If any of your audience is in Clubhouse, come on over. It's 7 o'clock on Tuesdays and Friday nights. You can have it. We can chop it up and have a good old time as to being able to understand how we can actualize love. No matter what the challenge is, we can navigate it with the right mindset, with the love mindset.
Oh, that's just. And so I'm going to say this before we leave. Again, we're going to put all this notes for all his channels, his social media contacts. We're going to put all that in the notes for you, the meeting notes. But I want you to understand, what did he just lay down? This is a man who's not playing small. This is a man who's putting love into the world everywhere he can, every opportunity he gets. And you, as a leader, can use his example and start doing the same kind of things. Man, Juan, I love you. Thanks for being the change. Thanks for being such an inspiration. And thank you for taking the time as usual. I know it's a big deal and you're a busy man, but from the bottom of my heart, I'm just truly grateful, and thank you very much.
Anytime, anywhere, any day.
Thanks again for joining us and listening to this episode of Leadership and Love. I would like to challenge you to ask yourself, what's one thing that you heard today that you can implement immediately to improve your leadership and accelerate your growth? If you've gotten value out of this episode or learned something that you can implement today, we'd ask that you please share it with those that you care about. Our goal is to create more leaders who are leading with love.